Welcome to Love Will Love, a place where emotions meet stories. Here, we explore love, mystery, and the moments that change our lives forever. Every episode is a new journey. Are you ready to feel it? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and join us for the next story of Love Reborn. Elle stepped off the ferry onto the sun-drenched quay of Paros, smoothing the straps of her straw tote bag. Summer tourists bustled by, camera phones raised, shopkeepers hawked linens and cobalt-painted ceramics. She inhaled the salty air. It was her first solo trip since the kids were born, and she'd promised herself two things: rest and a little adventure. Her villa overlooked a half-moon bay of turquoise water. Whitewashed walls gleamed, bougainvillea cascaded over the terrace railing. Elle unpacked a few sundresses, poured herself a glass of iced rose, and stretched out on the chaise. As she sipped, she noticed him, a tall man with sun-bleached hair, camera slung over his shoulder, kneeling on the rocks below to capture a boat. The next morning, at the taverna down the lane, Elle was nursing a honey-sweet frap when she felt a tap on her shoulder. "Mind if I join you?" His accent was softly British, with something else she couldn't place. "I'm Max." She hesitated. This was a me vacation, but something in his easy smile invited her in. "Elle," she said, tucking a strand of hair. They chatted. He was a travel photographer on assignment. She was a mom, craving a week off. He told her about hidden coves he'd discovered, and she described the laughter of her children back home. As morning turned to afternoon, she laughed at his stories of scooter wobbling in the hills and near misses with goats. That afternoon, intrigued, Elle joined Max on a porcelain white skiff cutting across sapphire waves. The boat skimmed past nets and orange-like reefs. Max pointed out sea caves glowing like melted glass. Elle dipped her toes, shrieking at the chill. By day 3, they were sharing fiery sunsets over chapels, toasting glasses of ouzo, while olive groves swayed in dusk. Elle hesitated, guilt creeping in for enjoying herself, and for how naturally Max's hand fit in the hollow of her back. On the 4th day, Max invited her to dinner at a seaside spot. Lanterns swung overhead. The scent of grilled octopus mingled with jasmine. They ate under strings of lights, waves lapping at their ankles. Halfway through sea bream, Max grew quiet. "I've traveled the world," he said, "but I've never felt light like this. You make everything feel possible." Elle's breath caught. She'd come for peace, not temptation. But his gaze was warm, genuine. She brushed a hand over her lips. "I came for peace," she confessed, "but I'm learning. Some peace looks a lot like laughter." He reached across the table, fingertips grazing hers. Electricity surged, then he pulled back. "I'm leaving tomorrow," he said. "My next shoot is in Bali. I don't want to complicate things." Elle nodded, though her gut nodded. "I understand." That night, restless, she wandered the village lanes lined with white churches and blue doors. She found a cafe where guitarists played ballads and ordered mint tea. She thought of her husband, of her kids' bedtime stories, and of Max's half-smile when he said, "I don't want to complicate things." Flashback to day 1. She had arrived anxious, car keys still in her palm. The villa felt like a promise that she could remember who she was before diapers and PTA meetings. On the terrace, she felt something waking in her again. Back to the present. The next morning, Elle packed silently, steeling herself for the ferry. She wore the white sundress Max had admired, fluttering like a sail. At departure, she looked for him, but there was no sign of Max or his gear. Turns out, he was already gone on a bright green Vespa. Later, Elle found a crisp envelope tucked into her villa's folder. Hands trembling, she opened it. A Polaroid of them on the skiff, with Max's note on the back. To Elle, "Call me. +44 to 7. Max. You reminded me why I fell in love with life. Don't lose this spark." Tears blurred her vision. She saved his number but didn't call. The moment felt fragile. She'd let memories settle first. Back home, the blender buzzed. The kids clamored for snacks. Mark handed her coffee. She smiled, then slipped to her room. Close to her heart, she carried a new sense of possibility, and in her tote, the Polaroid fluttered like a promise. That evening, she lingered on Max's note again. He reminded me why I fell in love with life. She realized she'd forgotten how to choose herself. She returned as a loving mom and wife, but also as a woman who had laughed again. A week later, Elle packed a picnic and took her family to the beach. The kids chased crabs. Mark hugged her in sandcastles. On the drive home, she slipped the Polaroid into his hand. "Mark," she said, "life is more than routine." He paused, surprised, but nodded. That weekend, they explored a lake kayaking, cooking on a camp stove, sharing stories under the stars. 2 months later, her phone buzzed. An unknown UK number. Her heart skipped. "Hi Max. It's Elle." Her voice trembled. "Elle," he replied. "I've been thinking about you every day since Paros. Would you come join me in Bali?" She looked at her 3 smiling faces on the couch, then typed, "Yes," and hit send. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Love has many faces. Which one will we discover next?